Ontiveros. Welcome to Newsnight, where we go above and beyond the headlines. Tonight on the program, a pharmacy executive makes a U-turn, retracting her earlier statement before senators that her company may have swindled the government by changing the expiry dates of face shields. Day 4 of the filing of certificates of candidacy for the 2022 elections. Acción Democrático standard bearer Isko Moreno and Willie Ong formalized their bids, and the PND Laban's vice presidential bet Bongo still without a running mate. And the country now has a new crown, Miss World Philippines, but not before issues marred the pageant. We begin with developments in the investigations into the government's purchase of COVID-19 supplies. An executive of pharmaceutical, now in the protected custody of the House of Representatives, changes her tune and clarifies the bombshell testimony she made at the Senate. Our AC Nichols has more.
I do admit that it was a pressured response. Given the amount of pressure that I was under at that time, and even the rush of emotions, I was not in the proper frame of mind to think clearly.
Formerly official Crizel Grace Mago recanting statements she previously made before the Senate Blue Ribbon Committee. This is her first public appearance after she went missing for over a week and was granted protective custody by the House of Representatives. Mago denies she was instructed to tamper with the expiration dates on the face shields delivered to the Health Department. She also says allegations that formally supplied the government with substandard face shields and test kits are untrue. Mago clarifies that what had happened was product certificates got mixed up after the company carried out quality control procedures.
Wala pang expired na face shields. And ang instruction po na nililay ko sa aming mga warehouse personnel is to repack po yung mga face shields namin into 10 pieces per packaging po. And then, nung ginagawa po nila yung repacking, nagsabi po sila sa akin na madaming product certificates, alin po dito ilalagay namin. So I told them to choose just one.
Mago last appeared before the Senate on September 24th, when she gave her supposedly most damaging testimony to the Blue Ribbon Committee. She confirmed at the time the claims of a witness identified as a formerly warehouse staff the damaged face shields were not being disposed of. Now, Mago is saying she got confused.
I was really traumatized by what happened, and it really had a negative impact on my mental health.
The House Public Accountability Panel has repeatedly criticized senators for allegedly politicizing the probe.
Lumilitaw po talaga na kung minsan naabuso po yung kapangyarihan to conduct formal inquiries and investigation in aid of legislation.
On the other hand, the House inquiry has been criticized as well, with President Duterte's allies seen as using the proceeding to defend the administration's public spending. Mago insists she was not coached to recant her previous claims. AC Nichols, CNN Philippines.
Senators deny they pressured Pharmacy official Crizel Mago to admit to tampering allegations. Blue Ribbon Committee Chairperson Richard Gordon says the questions posed to Mago were delivered, quote, in a calm and very measured manner, unquote. Mago recanting her statement did not come as a surprise for Gordon. He says Mago is now tied to Pharmacy, which he says is protective of the administration's interests. In a separate interview, Gordon said Mago may have willfully and knowingly made a false statement because she took an oath at the Senate. Senator Frank Drilon points out Mago did not deny the government was swindled, but merely said she was, quote, not in the best frame of mind to think, unquote, a claim Drilon says cannot be corroborated. For Senator Kiko Pangilinan, Mago is a rehearsed witness whose goal, along with that of other Pharmacy officials, is to allegedly lie and change a testimony when it is all too late. Gordon believes they have a solid case against Pharmacy and others involved in alleged procurement anomalies. The committee will hold its 10th hearing on the handling of pandemic response funds tomorrow. Now, the health department lists 11 pre-existing illnesses that will be accepted as priority in the rollout of COVID-19 vaccines for minors 12 to 17 years old this month. Now, these include medical complexity, genetic and neurologic conditions, obesity, HIV infection, tuberculosis, chronic respiratory disease, and renal disorders. Vaccine Czar Carlito Galvez also named the 6 hospitals in Metro Manila that will serve as vaccination sites: the Philippine Children's Medical Center, the National Children's Hospital, the Philippine Heart Center, Pasig City Children's Hospital, the Fed Del Mundo Medical Center, and the Philippine General Hospital. Health officials say the child and parent or guardian must give an informed consent and present a medical certificate about the minor's comorbidities. Children will be given Pfizer and Moderna COVID-19 vaccines, the only brands with regulatory approval for minors. Galvez says the government is allocating 60 million doses for adolescents, or around 26 to 29 million people. We are halfway through the period of formalizing 2022 election bids. Aspirants have 4 days to file their certificates of candidacy. Melissa Lopez joins us live from the Sofitel's Harbor Garden tent in Pasay City. Melissa, what was today like? And tell us about the latest additions to this growing list of aspirants.
Yes, Pia, the 4th day of filing was busier compared to the previous days as more politicians and party list groups filed their COCs today. Manila Mayor Isko Moreno filed his COC as president just before noon, together with his running mate, Dr. Willie Ong. In his speech, Moreno said it's the first time he has felt so nervous about an upcoming campaign, but he said he and Dr. Ong are ready to serve.
Tanggapin niyo po ang aplikasyon ko. Buong kababaang loob. Bigyan niyo po ko ng pagkakataon. Paghilumin natin ang ating bansa para sa magandang kinabukasan na ating inaasam.
They are the second confirmed tandem for next year, running under Aksyon Demokratiko. Apart from Moreno, 11 other aspirants filed their COCs for president today. Among them, independent bets Sonny Boy Andrade, Alfredo Respuesto, Faisal Mangundato, Gabriela Larot, and Juanita Troceño, who sang in lieu of a speech. Another revelation, it's not just PND Laban grappling with an internal rift. The group Philippine Green Republican Party says it has 2 sets of standard bearers. The second faction filed a full slate of 12 senatorial bets today. Their leader, Leo Cadion, says they will have the earlier COCs of June Yulaga and Alex Lage annulled. Cadion, however, was declared a nuisance candidate in the last 2 elections. Several party lists also submitted their list of nominees today, including Gabriela Ascenso, AKAP, Truck Drivers Philippines, AKO IP, and Aangat Kusinerong Pinoy, with celebrity chef Boy Logro as their first nominee. Pia?
Melissa, what is the running total for COCs received since the beginning of the filing period last Friday, October 1?
Yes, so far, Pia, we have 20 presidential candidates, or aspiring candidates rather, 7 for the vice presidency, 39 for senator, and 48 party list groups wanting a seat in Congress so far. Back to you.
Melissa Lopez there reporting. A guessing game on whether Davao City Mayor Sara Duterte will run for president. Although she filed a COC for re-election, her father, President Duterte, says she will still run for the highest post in tandem with Senator Bongo. A political analyst say voters already know this kind of game and the tactic may backfire among them. Our David Santos has more.
After weeks of speculation on his political plans, President Duterte bared over the weekend his surprise withdrawal from next year's election.
And today, I announce my retirement from politics.
His longtime aide, Senator Bongo, taking over his slot as vice presidential aspirant.
So, klaro po ito, Sara Go. Sara Go na ito.
Davao City Mayor Sara Duterte, who filed her candidacy for re-election just an hour after her father's announcement, has no comment.
Kumbaga, nabuhayan kami ng pag-asa.
Aldrin Fermin is part of a network of supporters asking Mayor Sara to succeed her father in Malacanang. They have been clamoring for the president to give way for his daughter. Now they hope Sara would also heed their call.
Yung kasi yung talagang hinihiling namin na pakinggan niya yung damdamin ng masang Pilipino.
While many may find the president's decision unexpected, for some voters, it did not come as a surprise.
We'll never know kung kumbaga tactics lang nila yon para lang makakuha ng simpatya ng tao.
Hindi naman kasi final pa na magre-retiro na talaga siya. Marami siyang mga changes when it comes sa mga words na binibitawan niya. Strategy lang nila yun eh. Parang sasabihin nila hindi tatakbo, ganyan. Then after last minute, tatakbo na.
Political analyst Julio Tihanki telling CNN Philippines Newsroom Weekend, Mayor Sara's seeming indecision could be part of a game plan. Despite her public denial she's seeking the presidency, the presidential daughter remains ahead in surveys.
Pag maaga ka nag-declare, ikaw at lalo na kung ikaw ay nangunguna, ikaw ay pupukulin ng lahat ng banat ng mga kalaban mo at by the time na campaign proper na, medyo mababa na ang political capital mo.
But this strategy may also be a double-edged sword. Mayor Sara's recent numbers showing a slight decline.
Ang delikado dyan, baka mawala na ng interes ang mamamayan sa kandidatura ni Mayor Sara kung hindi siya magdidesisyon pa.
With the political landscape still very fluid, Mayor Sara prefers to keep everyone guessing. David Santos, CNN Philippines.
Sara Duterte canceled a trip to Singapore tomorrow after her companion tested positive for COVID-19. She filed a medical leave beginning tomorrow until October 8th for this trip. Back to square one. That is where PND Laban stands in its choice of presidential candidate. Well, that's according to a faction led by Energy Secretary Alfonso Cusi. He confirms to CNN Philippines their new prospect as standard bearer has declined the nomination. PND Laban Secretary General Melvin Matibag said Cusi already signed the certificate of nomination for the unnamed nominee. Matibag refused to give more details. He also denies the other faction's claim that the Cusi wing has a, quote, secret agenda, unquote. The group, led by Senators Manny Pacquiao and COC Pimentel, has accused the Cusi wing of plotting to support the candidacy of Mayor Sara even if she is not from PND Laban.
We don't have to broadcast everything publicly kasi as a matter of political strategy, di ba? I'll just give us the leeway kasi syempre medyo sensitive. There are a lot of political maneuvers and political undertones na kailangan nating i-address. But everything is not sasabing secret. So this is an election. Alam niyo naman yung election, labanan yan.
Matibag adds the party is looking at no more than 5 names to replace Senator Bongo. Now, when we return on Newsnight, we take a look at where tropical depression Lanny is headed, and the Commission on Elections will begin the review of an essential component in the automated election system. Keep it here on CNN Philippines.
It was the tipping point of a hastily called controversial election and of the country's dramatic return to democracy. More than 30 volunteer encoders left their workstations on that fateful day of February 9th, 1986. They said results were manipulated to favor then-President Ferdinand Marcos. A parallel count by poll watchdog NAMFREL showed opposition candidate Cory Aquino in the lead. It was history in the making. Would the sea of change have turned otherwise without the vigilance of citizens groups? In 1983, NAMFREL pioneered citizen-based election monitoring in the world. 3 years later, the group became a key stakeholder in the snap election, enlisting up to 500,000 volunteers. The volunteers were on watch in polling precincts and at the same time conducted a parallel vote count, as Filipinos, wary of alleged massive fraud, closely guarded the ballots.
We would know if the count is believable or has been manipulated. You have to ensure the integrity of the elections, that the elections will reflect the true will of voters.
The COMELEC accredits citizens groups every election to help promote voter interest and assist in poll activities.
Yan ang pinakamahalagang criteria. Non-partisan, walang kinikilingan. And then, titingnan natin kung meron silang kakayanan.
With the advent of automated elections, the citizens' arm remains a key participant in the process, with access to the COMELEC system to conduct an unofficial parallel count. The partial results would then be validated with physical copies of election returns. Besides NAMFREL, the PPCRV has also been accredited to do the quick count. Other poll watchdogs mushroomed through the years, though not necessarily accredited by the COMELEC.
We focus more on fraud as well as the misuse and abuse of government resources vis-a-vis the election.
With the COVID-19 pandemic likely extending to the election period, poll watchdogs say the biggest challenge is getting Filipinos to show up in polling centers to vote. They are calling on the Commission on Elections to make sure voting areas will be safe from the virus and secure from fraud.
Welcome back to Newsnight, where we go above and beyond the headlines. A check now on tropical depression Lanny. It was last spotted in the vicinity of Gihulngan, Negros Oriental, where it made landfall past 3 this afternoon. The tropical depression will move west-northwestward over the Visayas tonight before hitting land again in northern Palawan or the Calamian Islands tomorrow morning. It's Lanny forecast to exit the country on Thursday. Signal number 1 up in 14 areas in Luzon and the Visayas, including the southern parts of Masbate, Romblon, and the Mindoro provinces, as well as in Capiz, Aklan, Antique, Iloilo, Cebu, and Bohol. These areas will have moderate to heavy rains and strong winds with occasional gusts today until tomorrow morning. Lanny brought continuous rains in Cebu province on Sunday. This triggered a number of landslides and blocked roads until today in the cities of Toledo and Cebu. Coast Guard canceled all trips in the province, leaving 200 passengers stranded. A major road in the municipality of Taft in eastern Samar also closed to motorists. A landslide occurred because of heavy rainfall. In southern Leyte, rescuers evacuated 30 people in a flood-prone area in Silago town. The Commission on Elections kicks off the source code review ahead of the 2022 polls. This is a crucial step to make sure the automated election system will be glitch-free and to boost confidence in the conduct of the polls. Tristan Adal reports.
A process that will determine the credibility of the 2022 general election results, that's where the Commission on Elections is right now, as it reviews the local source code, which contains a set of human-readable instructions that tells what a computer system should do, and a proper assessment that will boost public acceptance, transparency, and confidence of the automated election system. The review covers a supply chain from the printing of ballots, vote counting machine, and canvassing process. It begins Tuesday and will run until March 2022. The COMELEC points out new features or enhancements in the 2022 elections, including digital signatures, QR code features, and allowing the proclamation of a lone candidate after receiving one transmission. Independent reviewers say hacking the system is still a remote possibility.
Our objective is broken down as to ensure that the AES function as it should as expected.
that the code is clean and without embedded malicious code, and that we are able to identify any critical or major issues or errors that could potentially impact the outcome of the election.
Hindi masyadong malaki yung risk in terms of hacking. The system itself has a lot of security features.
The COMELEC says it will review processes that could have a potential impact on the integrity of the polls to prevent situations like the 7-hour glitch in the 2016 elections.
Ngayon, idadaanan natin sa review to make sure na maiwasan natin yung mga problema in the past. No? Na small details which would be innocuous, wala naman talagang malaking epekto, pero outsized yung impact niya, no, in terms of credibility, in terms of transparency. So isasama na natin yan.
Representatives from political parties, election watch groups, citizens armed group, and independent IT groups will join the source code review. Strict health protocols will be carried out and security will be tight here at the Diamond Hotel in Manila. Tristan Udalo, CNN Philippines.
A look now at those who filed their certificates of candidacy for local posts. Former President and House Speaker Gloria Macapagal Arroyo again vies for a congressional seat in Pampanga, seeking to replace her eldest son. Arroyo's lawyer filed her COC for representative of the province's 2nd District on October 1st. Arroyo held the post for 3 straight terms beginning in 2010 after she finished her stint as president. Her son Mikey occupied the seat in 2019. Former COMELEC Commissioner Gregorio Larazabal files his COC for Representative Leyte's 4th District. Larazabal will face Ormoc City Mayor Richard Gomez, who will attempt to switch seats with his wife Lucy, the district's incumbent representative. Larazabal and Torres Gomez were part of the initial senatorial lineup released by the tandem of Senators Ping Lacson and Tito Soto, but their names were removed from the updated list last month. We are going to see more aspirants filing their certificates of candidacy this week as over 18,000 posts are up for grabs in next year's elections. But before running for an elective office, an aspirant should meet the minimum standards set by law. Let's watch this.
Who can run in the 2022 elections? The certificate of candidacy is one's ticket to seek an elective office. But what makes someone qualified for the job? For president and vice president, the person should be a natural-born citizen, registered voter, can read and write, and at least 40 years old on election day. The candidate should also be a resident of the country for at least 10 years before the polls. A sitting president cannot seek re-election, but a vice president may run for a 2nd term. Candidates for the Senate have the same qualifications, but the age limit is lower at 35 years old. And residency is at least 2 years before election day. A senator can seek re-election, but only for a 2nd straight term. Much younger aspirants can run for district representative, at least 25 years old on election day, a registered voter in the district, and a resident of the same place for not less than a year before election day. For an even lower age requirement of at least 18 to 23 years old, candidates for local positions, governor, vice governor, provincial board member, mayor or vice mayor, and city or municipal councilor must meet these conditions. A registered voter and resident for at least 1 year in the barangay, district, municipality, city or province where they're seeking office.
We hope that all the candidates will cooperate. Especially the nuisance candidates, please, I am begging you, do not do this as a hobby. Do not do this for fun. Do not do this for your Facebook and Instagram posts. Do not fill up the certificate of candidacy if you are not seriously running for office.
It's now open season for the elections, and voters should be wise to choose candidates based on history, advocacies, concrete plans, and other credentials to make sure they elect leaders who can govern well and bring change to the nation.
Coming up on Newsnight, amid celebrations in the crowning of the new Miss World Philippines, netizens call out the organization about the candidates' long hours on stage. Details after a quick break.
RPN, Radio Philippines Network Incorporated, DXKO. 13.68 sa dial sa inyong radyo. RPN DXKO, ang Radyo Ronda, dili sa Dakbayan sa Cagayan de Oro. Sibiyahan